Hi, it's Charlie Ziese and Lisa Richards with Stargate Pyramids and the Pyramid Science Foundation. We are really happy today to have with us Kate Dotson. Kate is a nutritional therapist located in the Houston, Texas area. Kate has been a frequent and consistent attendee in our live streams every week. And she is the owner of Houston Nutritional Therapy. Her website is houstonnutritionaltherapy.com, and we'll give you that information again a little bit later. But welcome today, Kate. Thank you so much for coming with us and being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you having me on.
One of the key things that caught my eye when I went to your website was your statement on the front page that life for seniors doesn't have to suck. So, and that's a quote. So tell us a little bit about why you say that, and also a little bit about your journey into health, because I think that's a fascinating story in and of itself.
Oh, thank you. I hit about 40 and things started going downhill, which I just chalked up to, well, it's middle age, here it goes. And I had been diagnosed with MS when I was 25. I had it pretty much under control, taking shots every day. But every time I asked, what can I do to fix it? I was told, well, there really is nothing you can do. Just, take these shots and stay out of the heat, which is a little hard to do in Houston, Texas.
It sure is.
So, and I went along, I did the best I could. And like I said, when I hit 40, I just started dragging. I started feeling poorly. Sleep was impacted. I started gaining middle-aged weight, which, I just thought was normal. So when I found out at about 46 that there was something I could do about it, that there were changes you can make in diet and lifestyle that can turn everything around, I jumped on board as fast as can be. And within 3 weeks, I felt like $1 million.
Wow.
Which told me that I was onto something.
Right. Right.
It just, I woke up one morning clear as a bell. I didn't even realize how deep the brain fog had gotten.
Mm-hmm.
I'd noticed that at work, things that used to be easy weren't quite as easy. And again, chalked it up to, I'm getting older.
Right.
When that brain fog cleared, I was like, wow, this is what it should be. And I started researching, and I was fascinated by what I learned. And one of the biggest things I learned is the fact that people think, age and health. They think that as you get older, everything goes downhill and that that's normal. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not normal. We should actually, maybe degrade a little bit because we're not 20.
Right.
Until it's over. It should be like that, not a steady decline into health. And
Sure.
we shouldn't accept that. So the more I learned about it, the more fascinated I was by it. I found myself doing my corporate day job in a rush so that I could get home and learn more about nutrition and lifestyle and changes. And eventually it led to me getting out of that business and going into business for myself as a nutritional therapist.
Tell me a little bit about, or what was the first major change that you made in your life that helped with your MS situation?
I went on I would call it a modified paleo diet. So basically I went onto whole foods, and I got rid of a bunch of things that were causing problems. So I found over the years that I noticed that lactose was becoming a problem. Couldn't have ice cream after about 8 o'clock or else it felt like awful in my stomach.
Sure.
But I didn't realize that was just a sign of, dairy intolerance. And I never even knew the difference between an allergy and a sensitivity until I got into this.
Okay.
So when I took gluten and dairy out, And I actually started putting back in healthy fats that we'd been told for years were, the devil.
Right.
Everything changed. Joint pain went away. All sorts of things changed for me.
It brings back memories of reading Jane Brody books. So for those of you who remember her, but she was the head nutritionist from the New York Times who wrote a bunch of books about keeping fat out of your diet, which was, in retrospect, probably one of the worst things you could possibly have listened to.
Absolutely one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah. I did paleo for years, and I did strict paleo for a complete week. I even eliminated all natural sweeteners like honey and maple syrup, because sugar to me is like a drug. I mean, I'm addicted to it. I go to it for comfort. It makes me feel better.
Yep.
And on the third day, I remember just getting a severe headache that would not go away no matter what I did. And it was a withdrawal headache, because it is like a drug. It lights up the same brain activity as cocaine does.
It does.
But after a few days after that, I felt amazing. I had lost 10 pounds and ate more food that week than I had eaten on my crappy diet. And I just felt so much more energized. And I've kind of waned off from that, but I need to get back on it because it did make me feel amazing. My daughter actually was a senior that year. And for her senior project, she talked about the paleo diet. And about 6 teachers and the principal called her down to the office the next day and wanting to know more about it. And they actually started that diet and stuff themselves. And I remember we used to go to a big, my daughter and I, health expos up in Toronto, Canada. And I can't remember who the speaker was, but they were talking about gluten. And they said, gluten is, like you said, it's not an allergy, it's an intolerance. It's kind of like poison ivy. It creates an internal rash on the entire system. So everybody is intolerant to it, similar to poison ivy, but everybody just reacts to it differently. But it is bad for everybody still,
Right. Before we get into the results that you're going to be talking about today, I have a few more questions about MS, because I have a next door neighbor and friends who have MS, and I know there's a lot of people with MS and other types of chronic diseases like that out there. You mentioned early on that you started with diet and then there became other things. For example, I know that Magda Havas, who Lisa and I are both, Lisa knows her personally, has videos out about EMF sensitivity and dirty electricity, and when you put the Stetzer filters into a home, that many people have huge improvements from their MS symptoms right away. So you might want to, just to help those who have those kinds of issues, give them some ideas as to other things other than diet that they might look to improve themselves in their symptoms.
Other big areas, I started prioritizing my sleep. One of the big things people do in modern day is we cut our sleep short. We think it's downtime, and it's not downtime. That is when your body heals. That's when your cells clean up. And at the end of the sleep cycle is when you detoxify. So if you're constantly cutting that sleep cycle short and you're not getting an 8-hour sleep cycle, it's like only changing half of the oil in your car every time.
Right.
It won't cause a problem immediately, but the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get. And eventually everything's just going to go downhill. So sleep was a big part. And interestingly, after I made all these changes, I don't have to use an alarm clock.
Right. Yeah.
My body I go to sleep easily. I sleep well, and my body wakes up clear as a bell. I used to be the hit the snooze 6 times kind of girl.
Yeah.
And the only time I use an alarm clock is if I have to catch a flight early morning.
Right.
And even then I usually wake up before it goes off. So sleep was a big part for me. Detoxifying my life. So obviously there are things like toxic personal care products. So I started just gradually. I couldn't, not too many people can afford to throw everything out and buy everything new. So basically what I did is as I finished something up, I got rid of it.
Mhm.
So things like deodorant, things like hair products and skin products. And if you think about it, skin is one of your, you know, it's part of your immune system and it absorbs everything. So
Sure.
why would you slather poisons on it?
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, shame on the fact that there are poisons in them.
Exactly.
Well, that's right. That's right. And so,
But that's an easy thing for people to swap out, especially nowadays. This is becoming much more prevalent. So the number of products, the number of foods, things that are available these days is so much bigger than even it was when I did it
sure,
7 years ago.
sure,
I
sure.
use coconut oil for everything.
Yeah, my husband laughs at me because we use it to make, you know, to heat things up in. So if we're cooking something, we do it. If we make popcorn, we do it in coconut oil. And after I put it in there, if I have any left, I'm always like,
Yep.
Right.
Use
Right.
it all up.
yeah.
My dogs love it too.
Slather your food on you.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So sleep, toxic products was big. Stress relief, consciously reducing stress, realizing that, what is it, 10% is what happens to you and 90% is how you react to it.
That's about right. Yeah,
That's
sure.
huge. But I will say that after changing my diet, that became so much easier.
Mhm.
Instead of moods doing this, moods were like this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't get angry or frustrated occasionally, but it didn't fester.
Right, right.
I didn't let it control me. I didn't internalize it and cause my body to have problems with it. So that was another huge thing.
So do you
that
think
makes sense.
that is, I'm sorry, related to the leveling off of your blood sugar? If you
I'm
cut
not
sugar
sure
out
if
of your
it's
diet,
hard
or,
before
you
the
know,
horse.
Yeah.
You know, because when you take blood sugar or when your blood sugar reduces, your emotional resilience increases.
okay,
So I think it was actually pulling the sugary stuff out that helped my moods the most.
that essentially, yeah.
If that's
Okay.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Getting your blood sugar levels down and maybe a bit
Right.
more stable. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, cool.
And one of my biggest aha moments was kind of funny. It was, I'd gotten to the point that every time I sat down and every time I got up, I made a noise. You know what I'm talking about? You know, ooh,
Yeah.
I mean, just this, and I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one day after I'd been making these changes, I jumped up off the couch, which that in itself was big. And I was halfway across the room before I even realized how easy that was.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was when it really, really hit me what a big change this was making.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
That's fantastic.
So what did you do to prioritize your sleep? You know, what did you do to clean up? You know, we're swimming in a soup of electrical magnetic frequencies,
Yeah.
and that really affects a lot of us with our sleep. So
Well, I'm lucky in that I've always been pretty good sleeper, so I don't struggle to go to sleep. But it was getting my butt in bed at a reasonable hour, because at the time I was working my corporate job, I was having to get up at 5:30 every morning. Well, you can't stay up till midnight and get up at 5:30 in the morning and expect to somehow magically get 8 hours. So I moved back slowly. I just gradually moved back my bedtime until I was trying to get into bed by about 10.
Sure.
And that worked for me. And they say that every hour before midnight that you get sleep is worth about 2 to your body.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder. I'm now at the point where if I'm up at night till 9 o'clock, that's a rarity anymore. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I'm usually
Charlie's with the cycles of the sun.
oh, yeah.
And that's what we're supposed to be like. We're supposed to go to
Exactly.
sleep when the sun does and wake up when it wakes up, you know?
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So that's another big area that I did. I actually, I mean, I'm not recommending this, but it happened for me that I reduced my exercise.
Oh,
So when I was doing this, that first 6 months, I actually reduced my exercise and
Right.
still had all these benefits. I lost 26 pounds in 26 weeks. So a nice
Good for you.
slow
Yeah. Mhm.
progression of it. It was a little bit faster at first, and then it kind of leveled off.
Right, right.
But I mean, for the ladies, middle-aged ladies out there, to discover that you can actually get your girlish figure back, I had no idea that was possible.
Sure, sure.
It was all still under there. I just needed to uncover it.
Well, that's right. I love it. I love it. Well, I know we could keep talking about this, but the reason we wanted you to come on today was to talk about the experiences that you've had documenting improvements in people's conditions and their life force energies and so forth, largely in conjunction with your counseling and the pyramid. So, that is, you've done an outstanding job, and we appreciate the work you've done in documenting all of that. So, that's where I know people are going to be interested in hearing about that today. So want to just kind of turn it over to you. We'll ask questions as you go along, but I've looked through the results that you have on the Excel spreadsheets you sent us, and they're really pretty amazing. So anyway, with that, I'm going to just kind of let you take it over and talk to us and tell us about those experiences you've had with your clients.
Fantastic. Thank you. I wrote some notes on here so that I have them available. I basically did 7 weeks of research. I worked with 16 people, friends, family, clients, non-clients, neighbors, and we did 87 sessions across those 7 weeks.
Wow.
The way my sessions, I'm not a scientist, but I wanted to keep my variables as small as possible. So what I did is every person, we did a 30-minute session. They were listening to 432 hertz music, a YouTube video that I would have them listen to either on headphones or earbuds or out loud if they had to.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them to just relax, breathe deeply, notice anything that they noticed, physical sensations, anything like that. Mm-hmm. And one thing that is probably different from some of your other folks is I already had a Tesla biohealing device before I found out about the pyramids.
Yeah.
If I hadn't already had that, I would have gotten the caduceus coil. Mm-hmm. Because the theory is very similar. It emits scalar waves.
That's right.
Healing waves that help the body. So what I did is I have it hanging at the apex of my pyramid. Mm-hmm. And so that also enhances. And I bought your enhanced pyramid that has the quartz sand in the base.
Okay.
So all of those things were static throughout all of this.
Okay.
And each person, I know that diet and lifestyle is huge, but I also realize that it's not everything.
Right.
So when I had heard about the results you were having, I was really fascinated by the thought of it and wanted to explore it. And when you put out the call for health practitioners, it was like, yes. For me, in my head, my gut just said, yes, get involved in this. One of the big things that I saw was significant pain reduction. Okay. That was one of the most amazing pieces. I would ask them what's going on with them and then have them rate it 0 to 10 and do a before and an after. Mm-hmm. Significant pain reduction across the board. And to some extent, I had some acute situations. My 77-year-old mom had to have knee surgery. Okay. Well, her recovery at her age was incredibly fast. I had her in this pyramid as much as I possibly could. And every time she would come in, it would feel better.
Right.
So that was a huge part of what I found. Another thing was enhanced stress relief. So, sitting in a pyramid, listening to meditation music, like that.
Right.
I knew that would have an impact. I didn't realize how extreme it would be. Mm-hmm. And just to test it, because I'm kind of a skeptic, I also, after people did this and they had such a great experience, I said, okay, well, I'd like to see if you're willing to do it outside of this pyramid session, go home, listen to that music, and do the same 30 minutes,
Right.
in deep breathing, and tell me, did you get the same effect?
Right.
Or did you have less effect than you did in the pyramid?
Right. Right.
And everybody I had do that said that they had more impact sitting in the pyramid.
Sure. Sure.
So I wasn't too surprised, but like I said, I'm a skeptic, so I wanted to rule out the fact that maybe these people just never sit down and meditate.
Right.
Or maybe that music by itself is just huge.
Mhm.
So,
And a lot of people don't. They have continuous stimulation all day long. And then even, they're watching their phone, getting the blue light in their eyes before they go to sleep, and they're tossing and turning. They can't sleep.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I talk to my clients about sympathetic state and parasympathetic state.
Mhm.
And the fact that we are actually, as human race, we're supposed to live in parasympathetic, that rest,
Yeah.
digest, heal. We're not supposed to be in fight or flight.
Right.
And in
And
our
it's only
modern
one or the
life-
other.
Yeah. And in our modern life, you're constantly in fight or flight. Even, getting upset when you're on the road and somebody cuts you off, or you're stressed out because you're late, or you're eating on the fly, gulping your food standing up in the kitchen because you got to race out of that, or you take care of your kids. I mean, that's constant.
Yeah. I hear that a lot. People are like, oh, well, I love driving is relaxing for me, and well, it's really not, though, because you
No.
always have to be on guard that something's going to jump out or a car is going to swerve at you. That's not rest.
Right. So the stress relief is a big part of it, because I can talk to people about diet and lifestyle till I'm blue in the face,
Mhm.
but if they're sabotaging themselves with their stress levels,
Right.
I won't get the best results. So that
Sure.
was a big thing for me. Actually, because of you, Lisa, I learned how to do dowsing with a pendulum. So I was able to introduce the Bovis Life Force scale
Fantastic. Mhm.
into my research. I am like major left brain. I was a computer person. The thought of tapping into my intuition was just not on my radar for the longest time.
Right. Right.
And this year I've started to learn more and more and more about that, and tapping into the power of the pendulum and
The power
incorporating
of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically tapping into the power of yourself. Exactly. I had no idea.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there are a lot of left brain, business people out there who might kind of look at me funny, but it has made a world of difference. So I was able to measure before and after on the Bovis Life Force scale.
Mhm.
So I just did the general, and almost everybody. I had a couple of occasions where people didn't improve. And it was usually my husband, because he was sitting in here reading instead of meditating.
Ah!
Oh, yeah.
But and then later in one of the other meetings that we had, somebody, I can't even remember who it was, mentioned that you can do Bovis Life Force on other areas. So specific organs or systems in the body.
Right.
Right. So I expanded it and I started doing that as well.
Right.
So being able to actually look and see, okay, how's your thyroid doing? Let's look at the life force of the thyroid before and after. And again, improvements everywhere.
Sure.
So that was a big deal for me. And one of the things that I found fascinating, just from the wide variety, were the physical manifestations. I told people, I didn't tell them what to expect. I told them to pay attention, see if you notice anything. If you feel something, if you notice anything, just notice it during the session, and then afterwards we'll talk about it and you can tell me what you felt. And nearly everybody had some type of physical manifestation, whether they felt tingling, whether they felt prickling in their scalp, whether they felt tingling down an arm, down a leg. I had people who felt like a sharp pinch in a certain area. And after when I start to talk to them, they're like, yeah, I usually have a pain there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I noticed there was a sharp pinch. And then I'll ask them later, okay, so how has your regular pain been? Oh, I haven't noticed that anymore. So
yeah.
I don't know if that means that, the energy was being utilized by the body to heal that particular portion, but shit, that's sure what it seems like.
You can, yeah, we get confirmation from people all the time. As soon as they sit in the pyramid, they feel tingling or like electrical zaps in areas of their body where they're experiencing pain.
Yes.
And that, the sensation in the top of their head, but a lot of in your hands too. If you sit there with your hands face up on your lap, you'll feel a lot of tingling sensation in your hands as well.
And I have felt just waves of warmth. Have you ever noticed waves of warmth just feel like it's coming in?
Yeah. I always feel a transfer, a very fast transfer of energy back and forth. It's not just something coming in, it's going out as well. It's like you're becoming one with the energy, so opening up your lines of communication.
So just overall, I mean, it has really opened up my eyes to the power of energy in healing.
Right.
And it's made me very, very interested in learning more about that, just as an additional tool in my toolbox.
Sure, exactly.
That's what, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed, and we are energy beings. So most of us walk around in life just dealing with we're picking up energy from other people that we don't know how to deal with because it's not our own. And we just struggle our whole entire life with that. So we have to find ways to transform it. That's the only way, to get a good life, really.
But this is a new topic for a lot of people. There are a lot of people, and I was one of them, who had no idea that this was even the case. I was just getting up, getting ready, going to work, coming home, having dinner, going to bed, rinse and repeat.
That's right.
No idea that there was something more and that there was a purpose. And switching to nutrition and opening my own business was certainly my purpose. It's my calling. And I'm fascinated that I was able to discover it, even if I was a little bit of a late bloomer.
Well, if you were a late bloomer, I was a really late bloomer. So you have plenty of time to go. I have to compress my my work now into a shorter span of time. But
come on.
anyway.
I used to think I was only gonna make it to about 75.
Yeah.
Now I'm like triple digits for sure.
Well, I believe that's the case. Yeah. Absolutely right. So a question I had, you mentioned your mother and the improvements that she had. Was she a skeptic when she started this, and how did you convince her to try it?
Yes, she was a skeptic, but she loves me.
Okay.
She was willing to go along with her crazy daughter's new idea.
Right.
And the interesting thing was, it was basically to help and see if it would help with her knee where she was having the pain.
Right.
And her back, she has suffered from chronic back pain for years.
Right.
The funniest thing is, and she gave me permission to talk about this, she has macular degeneration.
Okay. Yep.
And her right eye, it's been going on for years, probably a decade. Her left eye was more recent, the last year and a half, I think, something like that. The first time she sat in the pyramid, I don't know if you know, but with macular degeneration, you basically have a black spot in the middle. You can kind of see around it.
My mom had it. Yeah.
Yeah. In that black spot, she sat in the pyramid. She couldn't even pay attention to what was going on with her knee and her back, because every time she did an inhale, that black spot went bright white. And every time she exhaled, it went back to dark and bright white and dark. The whole session. She said, I couldn't pay attention to anything else because I had no idea this was going to happen. Now,
that's amazing.
To this point, her eye doctor has not noticed a a major change.
Right.
But I'm beginning to wonder whether that's going to happen.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Mhm.
My mom had it, and she was taking, I don't know if your mother has to take the injections every month, but that's
Yeah.
a process
Mhm.
that doesn't sound very appealing to me. So
No,
Mhm.
no, an injection into your eyeball is not something.
no.
Yes. I had to take my grandma to those every month. It was
Mhm.
horrible. Oh,
So I'm hopeful that the continued pyramid sessions will continue to help her there.
Right.
they actually make, and I've only seen them in the Giese style, but it might be one of our new products, Charlie. They make eyeglasses that you can wear when you're lying down in the shapes of pyramids. They have little
Oh, how about that?
yeah, to help heal your eyesight.
Wow,
Fantastic. Fantastic.
that's
So-
interesting. And I remembered your research, Lisa, with the blood flow.
Right.
So the clumping of the blood and things like that. So it makes sense that it'll help with the eyes. That's your smallest capillaries.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
That's right.
And that's why people that are diabetics lose their extremities and lose their eyesight, because those are the smallest capillaries in the body.
Yeah,
Oh.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I this is off topic, but I just started something called BFR training, which it's called blood flow resistance training. And essentially the idea is you put bands on the tops of your limbs, your extremities, and it's sufficient to restrict the flow of blood back to the heart, but not completely by any means. But what it does is it builds up the ketones, which produce a buildup of muscle mass, and you can achieve that state without having to lift the heavy muscles and so forth that you would normally have to do. And I'm already experiencing, I have an oximeter, a blood oximeter, and I've noticed, I started this just this last week, and I've noticed that my blood flow, it's supposed to increase capillary growth throughout the body. And so I'm noticing that my oxygen levels have risen by a point or two just in the first week, from about 95 up to about 97. So it's having some kind of a positive effect on me as well. So anyway, just a kind of an interesting sidelight. But for people who are, there's so many, this is just another example of, there's so many ways that people can look to natural health, alternative, nutritional, vibrational, energetic healing, as opposed to, our Western allopathic system of pills and procedures. So, I really do hope that people will take a chance or take the opportunity to get in touch with you about some of the results, and hopefully for those who are in need of help in some of these areas, that they can come in contact with you after the show. But are there other things that came about, or other major results that you found in your studies?
Those were probably the biggest ones. I kind of went through the spreadsheet and looked at the different things, and the life force increases, the pain reduction, the stress relief were probably my three largest.
Yeah. Were there any visible changes? I noticed some people said that they, for example, were upset or angry or crying, or were there emotional changes, I guess is what I'm trying to figure out.
I had a couple of people who burst into tears during their session and didn't know why. So to me, that's some kind of an emotional release.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's funny. One of the ladies, she was only here because her daughter needed help. But she is somebody who's very high energy, very nonstop talk, great lady, but just one of those people that after you finish talking with her, it's like, whew.
Yeah.
In the first session she came out of it so zen. I've never seen her like this before.
Wow.
And the next week I asked her daughter, I was like,
right.
So how long did that last? And she said that it was a good day or two. that
Really?
she was significantly more calm. I mean, not that do you know do you understand what I mean?
I do.
Just
I do. Yeah.
a little more streamlined.
Right. Right. Right.
Mhm.
In-depth energy work can actually heal post-traumatic stress for people. You know, it can heal all types of trauma that you've experienced in your life in the past. I did an intense session before, and they took you through all the negative experiences. You didn't talk about them at all, just named each one. They took you to a point in your life where you were 100% happy, and then brought you back through. Since you are resonating with that 100% happiness, as soon as you touched those other areas of your life with that happiness, they like disappeared. It's like you retained the lesson, but it's like you didn't experience the trauma from those situations anymore. It's powerful.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of like now you view your life, it reminds you of like a TV show, like you were watching a TV show,
Mhm.
you know, instead of being there experiencing that trauma, you know. But that's amazing. I mean, it can help so many people. How many people are suffering with post-traumatic stress?
Right.
You know?
Right. Are there any health practitioners that are focused on military?
Oh, well, I know, especially now, the poor veterans, you know.
Yeah. I mean, if you could get the pyramid and a practitioner into the VA, that could have some amazing results.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Assuming they would go for it.
Yeah, the VA guys might be a little hard to convince, but
That's the big question. There's nothing to sell other than the pyramid, and that unfortunately means that it's probably because it's free, essentially free good. Probably not going to be something that'll be promoted, unfortunately.
I think that's the biggest thing is people don't have time to look into what the pyramid really does, and they think it's silly just sitting inside of a shape is going to help, you know. But it is silly to not even try it, in my mind. You know, there's so many benefits and so much research out there, and it's just going to continue. And so many testimonials, like from people like you and from your clients. You know, we see it more and more every day, and it's just amazing. We don't have to be sick, and people are tired of being sick and tired. And you know, there's ways around it, and we want people to experience true health.
Yeah, I did have one, no, actually more than one of the people that did this who told me that when they sat down in here, they felt like they were in something.
Yes.
They had a feeling of being in a chamber, even though it's all completely open.
Well, it is a resonance chamber, and so a chamber without walls. It's really a fascinating phenomenon, but it works that way. I've noticed when I have my cell phone, sometimes if I hold it like I'm doing now, like between the poles and the pyramid and so forth, there's a clear change in my reception that I get from my phone calls, or if I'm listening to a YouTube or something like that. So there is clearly something there, and that's where my research is taking me. Is that this is the geometry that nature uses in the creative process. So it is amazing. So. So are there any, I guess, final thoughts, Kate, or comments? One thing I do want to do, would you please repeat where people can get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about what you do and would like to talk to you further?
Sure. You can reach me at houstonnutritionaltherapy.com. I have my story on there, so you can see kind of what I went through in detail. And what I offer to people, I do both small group programs and individual nutrition.
Do you do remote work as well as in person?
Yes,
okay.
I do. There's a clinical portion to what I do that it can only be done in person. And I've actually had people travel. I've had somebody from Dallas come down. I've had somebody from Corpus Christi come up.
Right.
To do that portion of it. And that can be very valuable because it's basically tapping into the body to get feedback on nutritional deficiencies and things like that.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much what I offer. I'm also on Facebook under Houston Nutritional Therapy.
Okay.
I have an Instagram, but I don't do too much on it.
Right.
But overall, the thing I would like people to take away from this is even somebody incredibly skeptical and not aware of the power of energy
Right.
can be turned around. That one of those people that said that they felt like they were in a chamber was somebody who is not open to any of this.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing it because she was really struggling. And I'm like, well, I do have this option if you want to try it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do anything.
Right. Right.
And then she had an experience where she truly felt energy. So that can be eye-opening for people.
Well, it is. And I mean, I know I've experienced, that's how I got started with this. I mean, when you allow when the universe beats you over the head enough times through manifestation of illnesses or depression or whatever it may be, eventually sometimes people open up to new ideas, and that's what I think we all need to be open to. And it's so much benefit to be derived by not being afraid of trying something new. One thing I'm sure Kate can attest to, Lisa and I can as well. I don't know of anyone who has ever been harmed by sitting inside a pyramid, but I know a whole lot of people who have been helped. So that's what it takes, is an open mind and a receptivity to new ideas. But the future is energy medicine, whether it's in nutrition or pyramids or sound healing and so forth. So all of these are complementary because they're approaching health in a natural way of bringing to the body what it needs to heal itself. So
fantastic. Anyway. Well said.
Yeah. So Lisa, any closing thoughts before we end up and close for today?
You know, Kate, we really appreciate all the work that you're doing and helping us with our research through the Pyramid Science Foundation. You answered the call when we reached out to you, and you're an amazing person for doing that, because you're going to help so many, not just in your clinic, but all over the world, just sharing this testimony with everybody today.
I hope so.
We really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. And thank you for having me on again.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.